So we are on chapter 4, text 34. Tadvidhi paripratena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. The very famous verse. It has been quoted by Srila Prabhupada many, many times. And this is the, the pillar for us to know how to learn, what it takes to learn scriptures or learn the truth or learn knowledge, right? So Lord Krishna is personally saying that just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. So, who's a spiritual master? A spiritual master is somebody who has control over his mind, intelligence, who has control over his speech, who has control over his basically tongue, belly, and genitals, who has control over his senses, and who has knowledge of all the scriptures in such a way that he can demystify the doubts of of his disciples based on scriptural understanding. Such a person is a spiritual master or guru. And also another requirement, very important requirement, is a guru must have a guru. A spiritual master must have a spiritual master, going all the way chain back to Lord Krishna himself. That's the Guru Shishya Parampara, right? So the chain must go all the way back to Lord Krishna. Otherwise, it's not a bona fide parampara. If somebody in the chain came on his own, like, I'm a guru, okay, here we start. No, it has to be in the four sampradayas, as we did. For those of you who attended the webinar, we discussed the four sampradayas: Lakshmi Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Lord Shiva, for Chatushkumar Sampradaya, the Chatushkumar, the four sons of Lord Brahma, and the Brahma Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya, coming from Lord Brahma himself. These are the four sampradayas. And the guru, a real bona fide, certified guru, can be only in this four sampradayas. Right? Anybody outside this who says I'm a guru on his own, uh, we respect everyone, but we don't take them seriously. Just like we get an accredited university to get a degree from. We just don't go to a YouTuber and say, okay, give me an accredited degree, right? YouTuber can give nice knowledge, but our certificate comes from an accredited university. So Krishna is saying, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively. The how should a student be? This verse is about us. As how should we be as students when we are inquiring from Krishna or Krishna's representatives who are giving us this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? So the inquiry is submissive. What's the other kind of inquiry? I'm sure you have seen in classes there is somebody sitting in the front row bullying the professor or teacher, like asking questions out of syllabus just to show how much they know and show everybody else how much I know. Look at me, look at me. So, not that kind of questioning, but submissive questioning, where you ask because you're eager to know the answer. You're eager to benefit yourself. You're eager to get out of the clutches of birth, death, old age, disease. You submissively ask it, please answer my question because, you know, I want to become a better person. I want to grow in my spiritual life. So submissive asking of question, but asking of question nevertheless. You cannot be dogmatic about religion. Oh, my grandfather said I should use right hand on whatever, or I should not cut my hair on such and such day and this that. That's why I do it. Grandfather, grandmother, traditions, blah blah blah. You should always ask questions. So Krishna is saying, inquire from him submissively. Inquire, ask question, and how do you do it? Submissively. Render service unto him. Sevaya paripratena, pariprashnena, sevaya. Three things, right? Paripratena, by approaching the spiritual master. Pariprashnena, by submissively inquiring. And sevaya, by offering service. What kind of seva can you offer to a teacher? Can anybody answer? What
Hare
kind
Krishna.
of offering? Yeah, go ahead.
Offering could be of, from what I understood or no, I think offering could be of many types. Probably like service, as in helping, providing food and shelter, or those kind of materialistic services for so such that the guru is is made feel comfortable, is one perspective of, I mean, aspect of service, is what I can think about.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
I think, Prabhu, following his instructions is also a service which we can do.
Yes, very nice.
and
Following the
uh,
instructions.
and obviously, we can help him in we can help him in propagating the knowledge in
Hmm.
some way or the other, even if in a minute way.
Hmm. Okay. Kushal is typing service following teachings. Yes, right. Um, yes. So sweet words of appreciation. That's a nice service. That you know what. Um, Thank you very much. This meant a lot to me, and that's encouraging for the teacher. Service could be telling others, hey, you know what, come, let's learn more, like bringing other students, like many of you do for webinars and what, or adding people to the WhatsApp group, right? So you're eagerly bringing your friends also to the folds of Krishna consciousness, right? um, Another service could be help me help you better, so that just like Krishanu might have said that I'm uh, I'm following your teachings. Okay, great. Yeah. Following the instructions of the spiritual master and telling the spiritual master, I learned this way. Can you please help me explain in this way? I'm a visual learner. I'm a experiential learner. I'm a kinesthetic learner, right? Helping the teacher help you better, right? So having one-on-one conversations, opening your heart, receiving guidance, so that the teacher or the spiritual master knows where you're coming from. Your family background might be in such a way that you are not uh, let's say when we're talking to Westerner, they're like no conception of Vedic things, right? So very different background versus somebody coming from a very very Brahminical background, have a very different conception. So like that, when you have conversations, then you're helping your teacher or spiritual master to help you understand things better. Thereby it's more customized. So whenever some of you ask me, I want to add a friend to the group, I always ask a few questions, right? And the reason why I'm asking is I want to understand if this person comes from with an open mind, comes with the right kind of background. So, for example, somebody who is an atheist, I'm totally okay with them. But if they're the angry atheists, they're going to cause a lot of trouble, a lot of bad mouthing, a lot of shouting and yelling. And that might not be good for the group. That might be good one on one with me, right? So I'm careful who I let into this WhatsApp group of Philosophy Friday, or our webinars, or our discussions here, because one bad apple, I shouldn't say bad, but one problematic person can take everybody else's time. So it's important for the teacher to know the student to know the teacher, and vice versa. So seva comes in many forms, sweet words. Or for example, Ekalavya's case, was Guru Dakshina was his thumb, right? So that can be so extreme also. But every teacher, there is something you repay. So my mentor, when I asked him, what can I do for you? I cannot repay what you've given me, Krishna consciousness. He said, give it forward. That's how you repay me. So I'm giving it forward to all of you, and thereby reciprocating with my mentor and my spiritual master. Right. So there are various ways of Guru Dakshina, but this is, these are some of the words. So Krishna is saying, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So you have to make sure that we get the knowledge from somebody who has seen the truth. How do you know they have seen the truth? So we should carefully observe. We should test before accepting knowledge. Like I said, the first test is, do you have a guru? Who has a guru? Who has a guru? Going all the way back to Krishna. All right. Another thing is making sure that they are following what they're teaching. So the example, if I'm saying don't smoke and I'm smoking myself, that's not effective. So it's important to see that if the person who's teaching is following that example. And other things, for different people, the need for a teacher might be different ways. Somebody likes a huggy touchy teacher, somebody who will be very emotional, somebody likes a teacher who's strong and strict. right? So you have to, accordingly, you find it like this is the right person for me or not, etc., etc. So it's your right and duty to test your teacher, not in an aggressive way, but in a submissive way, to make sure that teacher meaning spiritual master, who you take diksha from, who you take initiation from, this is the right person for me, right? And the teacher and the spiritual master also has a right to test you and make sure you're the right student who can and how much of this message you can take. For example, um, in a philosophy Friday, I would never talk about Rasa Leela, let's say. One, I don't have the qualification to talk about it. B, it's not something that beginner level devotees should be even discussing, because this is very, very up there. It's PhD level, right? And we are at the ABC level. So, so there are certain topics that won't be shared with a student who might not be eligible or have the minimum requirement qualification for certain topics, right? So that's why it's important from both sides to know each other, right? And thus, proper knowledge at the proper time can be given. For example, in Vrindavan, if you go, there are many temples where men are dressed in saris. You see them on the altar, they're dancing like women and all of that. Now, this is not a gender bias statement about people with certain sexual orientation. This is a statement about um, knowledge that is here given to students who are here. So for example, Gopi Bhav, feeling that loving feeling towards Krishna in a conjugal way, which is a very high topic, and none of us have that. I Almost none of us have that realization. But when it's told to people who are at the basic level, what they do is artificially try to be a gopi, wearing a sari, dancing like a gopi, and doing all kinds of things, uh, and then they find a Krishna and they have illicit stuff going on in the name of Krishna consciousness. And these are horrible things that deter you from the path of Krishna consciousness, because you don't know the philosophy, you've not read the philosophy, but you're trying to be a gopi, right? Unnaturally, because you know Rasalila and you know some hi-fi stuff. So it destroys one's spiritual life. So it's important that what kind of knowledge goes to what kind of person can accept what kind of knowledge. So spiritual master or the teacher should know the student, and the student should also know who they're getting the spiritual nourishment from. So far, good. Oh, another thing I want to mention in this context also. You might have seen that sometimes when some of you share certain videos of certain teachers in the WhatsApp group, I am I express a little bit of hesitancy there. And the reason why I do that is also because at the initial stage, it's not a good idea to just go crazy on YouTube and just find whoever you want to learn from, just because they have an ISKCON stamp or a Vaishnava stamp or whatever stamp they might have. What happens is, again, people are talking at various levels, right? You might be here or you might be here, but the speech might be here or here, and there's a mismatch. And when you share that in the group, I am trying really hard to bring you all up to speed in a very scientific manner, right? Just like Srila Prabhupada wanted us to. And then somebody just says something, Ekadashi, blah, 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 you should not do this and do this. And there's 20 million questions on, like, why should we not do this? No, 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 no. Is there pop in grains? Now, I can answer all these questions, but if I do, I know somebody who's reading is like, oh my God, this thing is crazy. These people are crazy. I don't want to be part of this. I'm getting out of this group. That's going to happen. And some of you are going to be like, wow, Prabhu, this is so nice. I'm going to do this austerity, right? But I have to make sure that it doesn't scare away certain people who are not at that point to do that austerity. So whenever there's a question about Ekadashi or there's austerity or there's like fasting and should I do this and should I do that, I try to keep things more generalistic so that people who are new, right, they don't get scared away. And that is my role, to make sure that the content I give is soluble, is digestible for everyone. And those who are serious can have one-on-one conversations, and I'll give you so much you cannot even handle, if you really want that. But the point is that's for one-on-one conversations. But for generalistic group conversations, try to keep things in a way that everybody can appreciate and everybody can move forward rather than getting scared, because it can be. I mean, imagine Hiranyakashipu, one leg, and he's like, doing tapasya for 10,000 years and almost burning himself. Like, not needed in Kali Yuga, not that we can do it anyway, right? Hardly chanting one round is good enough for a start, but it starts from there. And there are many, many things. So the point is, don't try to jump to PhD. Let's start with ABC 1, 2, 3, and slowly, slowly move on. Right? That's the whole point. So that's why it is important that we approach a teacher or a spiritual master who understands these nuances and can regulate the content in terms of what is the right content for the right people and the right time, place, and circumstance. Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey that message of the Lord as it is to the disciple. So Krishna is the actual spiritual master. Here, Krishna is speaking, right? Srila Prabhupada is doing what? He is simply making it easy for us to understand. It's those exact same word. If you look at the purports and if you know the scriptures, Srila Prabhupada's purports are actually in toto, line by line, and I have seen this over and over again. Either Brahma Samhita or Upadeshamrita, or it is Sri Ushopanashad. It's any of those scriptures. He is not speaking his own opinion at all. He is speaking scriptures in English in the purport, helping us understand the context behind Krishna's words, because Arjun is a learned scholar. Arjun can understand Krishna very easily because he has that background of Vedic upbringing. We don't have that background of Vedic upbringing. So Prabhupada is helping us with the context, but he is helping us with the context coming from scriptures directly, not his own opinion or anything that matters. So a spiritual master is Krishna's mailman, who is bringing the mail from Krishna to you without opening the letter, without changing the grammar, without changing the structure of sentences, anything. It is packed by Krishna and he's just delivering it to you as it is. That's why we say Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's important to understand this point, because what happens in other cases is when somebody is not from a sampradaya, they will be like, I'm a philosopher, I'm a Sanskrit scholar, and you know what? This word has 64 meanings, and I'm going to tell you this probably could be this and could be that and could be this. And it sounds very fantastic. I mean, for example, Devdutt Patnaik, right? I love how the way he speaks, but there is no authenticity in what he speaks because it's all speculation. He'll take one word, muni, and it was going in round and circle and everything. It sounds excellent, but it is for entertainment only. It is not authentic because it doesn't come from scriptures. It is his own mental speculation. So, as aspiring gurus, all of us should be aspiring to be gurus someday, spiritual master, because this knowledge has to be spread to the next generation. So, you should keep in mind that you are qualified to be a guru only when you take Krishna's message and pass it on transparently to the next generation without tinkering or changing anything in it. Right? Only then the potency with which Krishna spoke to Arjun, that potency that had on Arjun, Arjun was transformed out of depression, out of dilemma, out of all confusion. And he was like, Karishye Vachanam Tava, I'll fight this war. I'll listen to you, whatever you say, Krishna. That transformation will happen only when you let that same energy of Krishna pass through his words to the next generation without tinkering, without coloring it, without censoring it, right? Give it as it is. That's a very important quality of you to learn as a student and your journey to become a spiritual master, right? Srila Prabhupada wanted all of us to be gurus, right? Jare dakho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. So Krishna Upadesh, whoever you see, you should one day when you become spiritual master, you should have that kind of system to give Krishna Upadesh to whoever you can give, whoever is willing to listen, whoever is a seeker out there. And that is why I do these webinars, so with Facebook targeting it to this technology, I'm using that in service to Krishna, finding out seekers, those are searching Bhagavad Gita, those are searching meditation, those are searching about Krishna, right? Finding those gems, those, all of you jewel-like personalities out there, right? Finding you from Facebook and bringing somehow, explaining this Gita to you. So that's the purpose here. Being mailman of Krishna. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the real, uh, to the to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. So it's important. If one thinks I can read the Gita and I can understand everything, one is mistaken. There is definitely benefit in it, no questions about it. But one definitely needs a live spiritual master, a person, a human being to explain this to you as it is. So I'll give you an example. There's this lady who, in China, she was in the Russian border of China, very cold place. They can only do farming for 3 months a year. The rest of the time it's snowing. She was a very wealthy landholder, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And she was going to die, doctors had said, and she's like, you know what, if I'm going to die, I might as well do some good while dying, try to learn the truth about life. And somehow she got access to a Bhagavad Gita as it is in Mandarin. She read the Gita end to end. She didn't have a spiritual master. And in her land, where there were all these farmers, she told all the farmers, whenever you're working on the land, you should chant Hare Krishna. So they would all chant Hare Krishna all day when they were working, and they would come back and they'd be super tired and go to sleep. But they had the qualities, the devotional qualities, those were not evolving in them. Now, somehow or other, my spiritual master was visiting China at the time, and he was told that there is this lady and she would really appreciate if somebody could come and teach them Bhagavad Gita. So he went and he saw this whole community of people who were chanting Hare Krishna and they read the Gita. The lady has read the Gita, not all the farmers, but there was so much missing. And then he started giving lectures and lectures and lectures and lectures and lectures. And many of them would be like very tired after farming, falling asleep, yet they would try to apply those principles, and eventually their lifestyle started changing and they started becoming Vaishnava like, and now they are practicing devotees with wonderful qualities that are described in the Bhagavad Gita, living a sattvic lifestyle, vegetarian lifestyle, etc., etc., transformation, right? So reading a book independently can give you only so much. It gives you knowledge, but gyan becomes realized knowledge, or uh, gyan becomes vigyan only when there is a spiritual master to help you realize that knowledge, because the mercy factor is very important. This book is not just knowledge. This book, to unveil the confidential aspect of this book, you need to have the mercy factor. Krishna is not our servant. We have to remember that. We are Krishna's servant. So we cannot demand Krishna. I have intelligence, so I'm going to demand the knowledge to be downloaded to my brain. It doesn't work like that. You can read all day long, you can do a PhD on it and still not understand it. But if there's mercy, Krishna, Lord Brahma says in Brahma Samhita that Vedesha Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto, right? Through Vedas, Durlabham, Krishna is very hard to understand, Durlabham. But Adurlabham, it's very easy to access Krishna as a Bhakta, Atma Bhakto. One who is a devotee of Krishna, he can access Krishna easily. But by studying all the Vedas, which we don't even have access to anymore because they're all burnt out by the invaders, right? Even if one could read all the scriptures, all the shastras, still one would not have access to Krishna. Durlabham. Vedes to Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Right? Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma states that. So that's very important to understand. The mercy factor is very, very important in understanding this and unpacking this confidential knowledge. Right? When Krishna sees that you're really sincerely trying to understand, then Krishna reveals himself in your heart. And you're like, this is how it is. This is how Krishna is. Wow. And tears come out of your eyes. Ecstasy comes, and you feel this happiness, splurge of happiness that you cannot explain in words, because it's coming from a whole different level of consciousness that is not something this worldly, it's otherworldly, right? But Krishna can give that to you. So whenever you get a realization, whenever you get that aha moment, I get it, Know for a fact that Krishna has gifted you that, seeing, you know, your sincerity and seeing your eagerness. So that's how you should feel encouraged whenever you have that aha moment, because that is not possible any other way unless Krishna reveals. Because one of the names of Krishna is Adhokshaja, Adho Akshaja. That means Krishna is beyond mind and senses. So Krishna cannot be understood through mind and senses, through eyes, through ears, through, you cannot understand Krishna. He's beyond the mind and senses because he's a whole different dimension. We are in 3D. He's in a whole different dimension. But when he makes himself understandable, then we can understand Krishna. And that is his gift to us. Right? Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is a secret of advancement in spiritual life. So, why serve the spiritual master? Why render services? Because when you satisfy the spiritual master, Krishna is supremely satisfied. In fact, you try to do all seva to Krishna, he's like, oh, okay, thank you very much. But you serve Krishna's servants. Oh, Krishna is indebted to you, right? Just to give you a nice example, this is a story from Ramanujacharya's pastimes. I'm sorry, I don't remember all the names correctly. If you remember, please remind me. But there was so Varadaraj Swami in the Varadaraj temple. There was this wonderful saintly person who would fan the Lord, right? And everybody knew that he had direct access in talking to the Lord. Does anybody know his name? Is it Kuresh?
It's actually Tirukachi Nambigar.
It is?
Tirukachi Nambigar.
Okay. Um,
He was the one who actually can communicate with Varadaraja Swami and the Lakshmi over there.
I see. So he used to fan the Lord, and one day one person asked, "Can you please ask Varadaraj Swami that if I will go back to Godhead at the end of my life?" And he asked the Lord, and Lord said, "Because he's dear to you, sure, he'll go back to Godhead, or he or she, I forget, will go back to Godhead." And then he was thinking, "Wow, just because somebody is dear to me, the Lord is giving him such mercy. What about me? I'm fanning him directly." So he asked the Lord, like, "Will I go back to Godhead?" Actually, he did. He was thinking about the question, and the Lord said, "You have a question, it seems." He's like, "Yes, my Lord. Will I go back to Godhead? I am so close to you." Lord said, "Why? You're already with me. Why do you have to go back to Vaikuntha? All? You're with me directly. You're serving me." And he's like, "What do you mean? They will go back, and I won't." Like, well, in that case, you know what to do. So immediately he dropped his fan and he went far away to serve, I think, a god brother or somebody who's a Vaishnava also, far away. And he didn't reveal who he was because he was a very famous Vaishnava. So he was serving there very menially. And long story short, you know, uh, Lord wanted him back. So when he came back, the Lord was like, "Yes, now you're qualified to go back." So if you're directly serving the Lord at very special position and talking to the Lord also, still that's not enough because the Lord wants us to serve his devotees. And that's when, and Radharani is like that. She's always thinking that all the gopis are serving Krishna so nicely. I wish I could serve like them. And that is what attracts Krishna so much, that she's the most intimate, the most highest devotee. And yet she's always thinking that I wish I could serve him like the other gopis. They are doing so much better. That humility attracts Krishna, right? And that service mentality, right? Radharani is, just to give you an example, again, I'm talking about very high subject matter, but just giving an example. Srimati Radharani and Krishna are on a swing, hmm, on Radha Kund. And if you have spiritual vision, if you go to Radhakund and Vrindavan, you can see it today also. If you don't have spiritual vision like me, then you will just see a pond. But Radhakund, Radha and Krishna are swinging, and Krishna suddenly decided to make the swing go really fast, right? And Radharani felt a little scared, so she held on to Krishna more tightly. Krishna liked that very much, that she's taking shelter of Krishna. So Krishna made the swing go faster even. And Radharani was holding on to Krishna even more. And both of them were enjoying each other's company tremendously. Right? Radha likes to be close to Krishna, and Krishna likes Radharani taking shelter. And then, slowly the swing slowed down, and Radharani said, I have had your association. Now I want others to also experience the same joy. And she invited the other gopis, like, you also go swing with Krishna. Now, when I heard this for the first time, for 7 days, I was just in shock because I was thinking, after knowing, after reading the scriptures, when you understand how much Srimati Radharani loves Lord Krishna, how can somebody who loves a person so much share her beloved with other women? This was mind boggling to me. I just could not grasp this content. I was just going through, like, how is this possible that she would invite other women to come sit with Krishna, hold him tightly, and swing with him? How is this possible? So I still remember my spiritual master was giving this lecture on 4th of July. It was American Independence Day, and there's Independence Day weekend. And my Maharaj was giving a lecture, and somehow, just like I said, Gyan becomes Vigyan. Krishna gifted me a realization, and I was like, this is how it works, right? And I ran to my mentor. I'm like, can you please validate if this is the right realization? That uh, Krishna likes surrender, Krishna likes submission, and she is in that mood. But and I was sharing, my realization, which I'm not sharing here right now. But my mentor said, but there is something else to it also. The fact that she got down and brought others on board on Krishna's swing, that is preaching. That's what we are supposed to do. We don't just enjoy Krishna's association. We just don't enjoy bhakti on our own. We invite others to come. You also dance with Krishna. You also chant. You also eat prasadam. You also come be part of this joyous process, right? And that is Radharani's mood. Is I'm enjoying this, but that's not enough. I want others to experience the same thing with Krishna at my level, not like, oh, I am getting this much, you should get this much. No, no, no. You should get as much as I'm getting. That's Radharani's mood. That's beautiful. And that should be our mood also, that I'm getting access to so much, you should too. And I'll do whatever it takes to make that, to assist you in that process. That's preaching. And that is very, very, very uh, um, pleasing to Krishna, when we have that mood of serving others and having them also experience intense joy. And what to speak of, serving the spiritual master who's doing this service, because spiritual master is somebody whose life is dedicated to spreading Krishna consciousness, spreading this knowledge to whoever is willing to hear. And when you serve that person who's so dear to Krishna, Krishna becomes sold out to you. Those who serve the spiritual master and are able to please and satisfy the spiritual master, Krishna becomes sold out to them. Right? And there are so many examples in Ramanujacharya's pastimes, Madhvacharya's pastimes, and like that, that showcase this very beautiful concept of servant, of servant, of servant, of servant, of servant, of servant, always trying to be the on the lower side, serving those who are serving Krishna. Versus the materialistic side is what? I want to be the boss, riding the corporate ladder. Where the devotional side is quite the opposite. The higher you are, the more lower you want to be. Spiritual master thinks, I am everybody's servant. They are all here. They're gifts from Krishna. They're Krishna's, invited guests, and I want to serve them so that they can get some knowledge. Their time is well utilized to become Krishna conscious. Very, very amazing. The thought process. At least I find this very amazing. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self realized spiritual master is a secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination of spiritual understanding. Inquiries and submission, asking questions submissively, constitute the proper combination with, with which you can have spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of spiritual master when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple. He automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So don't be blind in your following, right? Just because, oh, Guru Babaji. No, not like that. At the same time, not arrogant either. Your eyes and ears are open, but you submissively inquire to find out if this is the truth, if this is really what it is, right? So neither blind falling is encouraged, neither aggressive uh, insults are encouraged. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries become perfect. Now, spiritual master is kind, but also understand that when you surrender, spiritual master, and when spiritual master accepts you as a disciple, he has the right to discipline you. And that kindness can be sometimes a little harsh, can be chastisement, can be strong words, can be loud words. But the point is, it's for your benefit. It is not to put you down. It is not to dominate you. It's not to make you feel bad. It is for your benefit. I have been very fortunate. My spiritual master has beaten me, not physically, but verbally, he's beaten me to shape, right? When I was in my teenage adult, life, coming into Krishna consciousness, I was corrected left, right, and center. And I remember my best friend telling me, it's like, you know, Avelo, for lifetime after lifetime, we are going in the wrong direction. No one ever told us that you're jumping into the ditch, you're going in the wrong direction. Don't go. And here, after so many lifetimes, we have found somebody who's telling us, don't do this, don't go and jump in the ditch. Open your eyes and go in the right direction. And when we don't listen, somebody might have to shout and yell at us, like, hey, don't go there. Just like if a child is touching fire, mother might say, hey, don't touch that fire. I told you, don't touch it. Right. So similarly, a teacher, spiritual master might sometimes chastise, might sometimes be very harsh in their words, but their intention is only to save you from Maya, to protect you from birth, death, old age, disease again, right? And for that, if a little bit of chastisement is necessary, that comes. But that is love. That is tough love, right? Very important to know this because someday all of you will have spiritual masters. And if you're fortunate enough to have close relationship with your spiritual master, you might get some uh, heaviness. But don't take that as a negative thing. Take that as your great fortune because somebody is telling you, hey, don't go towards the ditch. Here is Krishna. Go in this direction. Okay. Any questions on this verse? Okay. Deepak has a question. Prabhuji, if we are initiated and if we are not able to chant 16 rounds on a particular, then what to do in this situation? What are the effects of breaking this vow? Deepak, let's not get in the negative zone. Let's just focus on the fact that Krishna is very kind, right? So this is not karma kanda where you do this and you get that. You do your 100%, right? You pray to Krishna, my dear Krishna, empower me to chant 16 rounds. And don't get scared. We are not, bhakti is not run by fear. Fear is for materialistic life. Everything in materialistic life is fear. You don't submit by deadline, you will lose your voting rights. You will lose your taxes. You lose this, you lose that. Krishna consciousness is not like that. Here it's by love. We love Krishna. That's why we want to serve Krishna. That's why we chant. That's why we eat prasadam. That's why we do what we do. So see Krishna consciousness in the lens of love, not fear, right? So if you are initiated and you are not able to keep a certain vows, be honest about it to your spiritual master and tell him, please help me so that I can get back on my vows. The only thing in bhakti is there's no prayaschitta in bhakti. Prayaschitta is in materialistic karma kanda process. Oh, you did this, now you have to do so many sacrifices and so many this and donate so many this and that. Bhakti doesn't have that. Bhakti is get up, keep going. You fell down, you made a mistake, fine. You acknowledge it, you get up, you keep going with full enthusiasm, full determination. My dear Krishna, I'm trying really hard, but I'm failing. Maya is too strong. Please, Krishna, help me, Krishna. I don't want to leave you. Krishna, please help me. Maya is very strong. I'm trying my best. And you keep trying and you keep trying and you keep going. Krishna will empower you. Right? That's our process. Our process is not a process of punishment. Oh, eternally damned in hell. No. Our process is that of giving another chance and giving another chance. And Krishna is like, come on, come on, come on, let's go back to Godhead. Yeah, yeah, you tried your best. Let's go, let's go. He's very merciful. But we should not take advantage of that mercy. We should give our 100%. And if through even genuine uh, 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 effort we still fail, trust me, there is process for that. And but first get initiated, right? Get to the point of initiation, and then we'll talk about what happens thereafter. All right. Vibhuti Mataji is saying, the name you spoke just now, is he the same person who wrote a book on Gita? Um, I don't know, Mataji. Sorry. Pradoshi. Very true, Prabhuji. Deepak, thank you so much, Prabhuji. You relieve me of a great burden. Okay, I'm happy. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to text 35. Somebody wants to read it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Go ahead.
यज्ञत्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यस्यसि पाण्डव येन भूतानि अशेषानि द्रक्ष्यसि आत्मानि अथो मायि. And when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, and that they are in me and are mine.
Um, okay, the translation is a little different. I don't know which version you're reading. Might be older version of the book. But having obtained real knowledge from self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. Similar meaning, but a little different translation. So, having obtained the real knowledge from a self realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. What illusion is Krishna talking about? Karma bandhana. We're talking about being attached to work, detachment and attachment. That's what we were talking about. So illusion is referring to us getting attached to the fruits of our work. So once we receive such great knowledge from a realized spiritual master, then we will not fall back into Maya again. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme. In other words, they are all mine. Krishna is saying he's God. This is nice, right? Okay. Um, Now I'm going to ask you a question. Even though Krishna says this, right? And in this case, Arjun learned the Bhagavad Gita from Krishna directly, accepting Krishna as his spiritual master. Few days later, when Abhimanyu died, Arjun broke down. He got into depression. He was again back to chapter 1, where how his situation was in chapter 1, chapter 2. So, what would you say to that? Is Krishna lying here? What's happening here? I want to hear your opinion. Krishna is saying that if you hear from a self-realized soul, you will never fall into illusion again. But Arjun loses his son and he falls into illusion. He's like, I'm going to commit suicide. So, what's happening?
I think it is attachment. We are being pulled back again and again
Mm-hmm.
in the clutches of Maya, and that's and surrenderance to that would pull us away from Krishna is what I can interpret.
Then, what does it mean about this verse? Is Krishna saying the wrong thing? This directly contradicts with this verse, isn't it? Krishna says he'll never fall into illusion again, and yet Arjuna himself falls into illusion.
So maybe the same principle that Arjun needs to listen from a spiritual master, not Krishna himself.
Okay. All right. Hmm.
I would like to share my opinion on this. I might be wrong, but what I understand is being detached does not mean becoming emotionless.
Hmm.
That's what I understand. That losing a son maybe he was caught by emotion. That does not mean he was not detached or he did not understand the knowledge what Krishna gave him.
Very nice. Okay. Anybody else wants to share? See, we should read the scriptures like this, right? We should not just take it for granted. We should question it and try to understand. Only then it will go deep inside. Because I'm challenging you here. So tell me. I want to hear from all of you. This is a nice intellectual. Yeah.
Maybe it was misinterpreted or misunderstood by Arjuna, or
Okay.
not having deep or enough, in-depth understanding of what was said by Krishna. Would that be the case?
Okay. I'm not going to answer yes or no. I'm just going to hear
Okay.
from all of you.
Okay.
Arjuna actually went a little overboard in the sense he challenged. He said by next day, end of next day, I'll put an end to Jayadratha and all that kind of stuff. So he took it upon himself that I'm going to do this. So it is very contrary to what is being being just an instrument of Krishna. He said, I'm going to do this to you tomorrow. But then again, Krishna had to bail out. So he actually went to chapter 1 or maybe something like that. In my understanding, at that moment, before he kind of realized that I done a mistake, and then again Krishna had to bail him out of that situation, the sun and all that kind of stuff. So
Exactly.
it was a momentary, Maya overtaking, or
That's the important word. Yeah, momentary. So he got back again. Just like a pendulum comes back to the center of gravity, right? So Arjun, even though moved out of the center of gravity for a temporary while, he came back again, back in Krishna consciousness. So from this, one thing we can be sure that what, if Arjun could deviate, or after hearing the Gita from the personality of Godhead himself, it can happen to all of us. But the point is to come back to the center of gravity. So yes, Maya is very strong. She will try to influence us. Mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. Yes, they will influence us. But the point is, come back to the fold of Krishna consciousness as quickly as you can. Right? So you can fall into illusion, but as long as you're coming back, that's not considered that you're back in Maya, because it is only natural. We are Tathastha Shakti. You know what Tathastha Shakti means? So there is Vishnu Tattva, and there is Ahladini Shakti, that is Krishna's loving potency, Radharani and gopis and all, and then us, Jivas. We are Tathastha Shakti. Tata means that the uh, the beach or the side of the river, right? Sometimes it's covered by sand, sometimes it's covered by water. So we are like that. Sometimes covered by Krishna, sometimes covered by Maya. So we switch back and forth. That's our nature. But the point is, if you are completely covered by sand only, then we are in full Maya. But it's nice when we can quickly take shelter of Krishna. So temporary deviations here and there, it's okay as long as we're coming to the center of gravity, Krishna. That's the important part. Then we are on the right side. So it's okay. Don't worry. Don't beat up yourself if you're once in a while, a little away from the center of gravity. Just hit yourself in the head and come back to Krishna's fold. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are mine. The result of receiving knowledge from a self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are part and parcel of Krishna, Supreme Person of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The sense of existence separate from Krishna is called Maya. Some think that they have nothing to do with Krishna, that Krishna is only a great historical personality, and the absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, this impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. So Brahma Jyoti, as we call it, is actually Krishna's bodily effulgence. Right? The source of Brahman is Krishna himself. Brahmanohi pratishtaham, Krishna says, right? So Brahma Jyoti comes from his body. But some people think that Krishna is just a historical figure. God is formless. God doesn't have any personality. God is just some energy, some light bulb, right? Which is not true. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very clear about it. So When you get this knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master, you get who you are, the jiva, the living entity. You get who Krishna is and how you should connect with Krishna and how you should connect with other living entities in this material world who are all parts and parcels of the same Father, Krishna, the same source, Krishna. So when you understand this, now guess what? You don't do this whole religious stuff, like Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, Jew, or all these, so-called deviations or black, white, racism, and all these things go away because everybody's part and parcel of Krishna, right? Even the person who's might be saying something bad or hurting you is part and parcel of Krishna. That doesn't mean you just let them do whatever they want. You you know you're compassionate at the same time. You have a self-esteem and you do what's required. Krishna, Arjun was fighting, he was killing. Did he know that they're all part and parcel of Krishna? Yes, of course he knew. Now he read the Bhagavad, or he heard the Bhagavad Gita directly from Krishna, but he was still killing them. That was the need of the hour, right? So the point is, you don't become like a mush, just by knowing everybody's part and parcel of Krishna, but you still have a perspective of what is what and how you should act in that situation. They say, hate the sin, not the sinner, right? So the behavior and the person are two different things. Even in a relationship, if you see some bad behavior or some burst of anger might make you feel, I don't want to be with this person. But the thing is, that's just one behavior. The person might have done so much for you in the past, and you forget all of that in one go. It's important to actually look back in the history and see, wow, this person has done so much, right? So cultivate gratitude when you're feeling angry. That this person is behaving like this with me right now, and this person has been so nice to me in the past. What has been the case? Oh, this is an anomaly. This is not how this person is. So because it's an anomaly, let me find out what is the reason behind this anger. Then you ask the person, is everything okay at home? Are you going through some difficulties? Is there any way I can help you? Guess what? The other person also calms down. You also calm down, and you're being thoughtful rather than you call me this, I call you that. Not like that, right? That's not very Vaishnava like. So, as a devotee of Krishna, you are thoughtful. You're chanting Hare Krishna. Why? To be in the present, not nashochati nakangshati, not lamenting about the past or hankering for the future. You are in the present. So, when somebody tells you, you rascal, you don't go like you, whatever that word might be. You control yourself, like, okay, this is not who you are. This is not how you act. What can I do for you? What is wrong? What is going on in your life? And accordingly you will see things calm down and people can have conversation and big problems become very, 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 very small problems, and you're able to overcome them very quickly. That's the real nature, real character of a devotee, right? That's how we act, and that's how people realize, wow, this Bhagavad Gita is not just some philosophy, but this is actually transformation of character. And that's the glory. That's how you're glorifying Krishna, by being that person that others can appreciate. So I'll end it here. I'll see if there's any last burning question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mansi.
Yeah. So I just have one question, because there are so many times we really do not understand that what is the right path or what is the right decision. I'll give you an example. I have an employee from last 7 years. Last few months, she's making so many mistakes during work. When we tell her the same, she says that everybody makes the mistakes. We tell her, but not so many. So what she says is that whatever the errors I'm making are natural while working. So I don't know what is dharma. Like, her family is dependent on her and she's the only earning member. We want to keep a new employee, but confused that what is dharma and will it be right? So there are so many other times also that I am really confused that what is the right dharma or what is the right way, so that I do not make a mistake. So can
I
you
got
just...
you. I got you. See, so in this case, first you have to understand you're not responsible for that person's. You're not Krishna. Krishna will somehow or other nourish them and maintain them. You're an employer, and you need certain things from your employee. And so, one thing I can suggest as a business person is put in KPI, key performance indicators. But you know what? I need these outputs from you. The error percentage cannot be more than, let's say, 5% or whatever that might be. If this happens for 2 months, here is put it in writing. Send an email saying, you know what? This has been my observation. This is what you need to perform. If you don't meet these criteria, in 2 months, you will be terminated. So if the person is thoughtful enough and responsible enough, she will get her act together and show that she can perform. If she is not the right person for your company, then you have to replace her, because your dharma as a company owner is to, make sure company is profitable. So you're a business person. You're not a Baba or a Samaj Sevi or whatever. You're not Krishna also. So somehow or other, she will find another job. But your job is to make sure that you get what you deserve, what you're paying for. Otherwise, you'll run into losses, and people will say, "Oh, these devotees cannot run businesses," right? So you have
Thank
to
you.
do your dharma, just like a king back in the days. They would, punish people, right? They would hang people if somebody does a murder. That doesn't mean they're not compassionate. Actually, hanging somebody from a Vedic perspective is a compassionate act, because if they don't do it, next life those person would have to get murdered the same way. Rather, in this life only, you kill somebody and you get hanged, and you're done with the karma. Move on, have a fresh start. It's an act of compassion, in fact. So you have to learn to be a compassionate boss, but also do the right thing at the right time. Does it help, Vibhuti Mataji?
Lot of it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, sir.